Blair is here.
Mark Arnold is here.
So we're just missing one. Bob
No
Sabinsky.
Bob?
Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No, sir, not this evening.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move. Jeff?
Second, Mark.
We got a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, pass with all present. Item number 4. Should we go ahead and open the public hearing?
Yep, that's fine. You can, if you want to read just the basic description, you don't need to read the entirety of the legal description.
Yeah. The Way Park Planning Commission will hold a meeting at City Hall, 13th Avenue North, at 6:30 p.m. or soon thereafter, Tuesday, June 9th, 2020, to hear the following request. A request of James W. Miller and Mick Family Properties LLC for the review of the preliminary and final plat of Prime West First Edition. The property is described as Lot 7, Block 4, and Lot 8, Block 4, Industries West. Public hearing open at 6:37, I think.
6:32 by our official clock.
Mine's a little fast.
Okay, I will do the report just quickly, and then I will enter the public comment in. Brad, could you please toggle to the click share, if you're able? From the click share, I can do it from here too. It'll just take me a moment. There we go. All right, Planning Commission members, you won't see this, but anyone watching at home can, or viewing later. On the screen here is the subject property. This, again, is in Industries West. What's being requested is Miller Properties. James Miller is looking to sell an 11 acre and change parcel to the Mick Properties, who are next door. The Micks have 2 parcels, one of which is vacant. Their northern parcel vacant, and that would be combined into a single larger parcel for the Micks, a single lot, single block configuration. This is needing to be platted because the Miller property is unplatted, and right now, if you look on the screen, you can see there's a kind of an access that's noted for the future, but there's no public access, no public road on the western side of the Miller property, and every parcel newly platted has to have a public access, public street frontage. The general configuration of the property is what drives the need to plat it. Other times we may have been able to do it administratively, but the way it lays out, we do need to plat the property. I've not received any request or any information on the potential development of the property, but once platted, it would be available for further development as part of the Mick property. Depending on what would be proposed, it could be potentially subdivided in the future if needed, either administratively or come back for a further split to the Planning Commission. Really depends on what the configuration would be. It does meet all standards of the applicable I-1 light industrial district. The portions of the Miller property nearby to the west are zoned differently, but the area that's being requested is part of the I-1 light industrial district. And there are city utilities available to the property by Julep Road. So they're already serviced, and it would be ready to go for anything that would be potentially proposed. As the Miller portion has not been previously platted, we would require payment in lieu of parkland dedication. Staff will be preparing a memo and recommendation to the park board that's under their charge to make a review and recommendation of the fee to the city council. I did calculate a recommended fee based on the ordinance requirement of 5% of the land value, and taking just the 11.3 acre to be platted, taking the value from the assessor's office and extrapolating that, the recommended payment would be $24,261. Staff would note that the city does not establish who is responsible for payment of the required fee. We leave that up to the applicants to decide between themselves as they see fit. So it will be up to both applicant parties, the Millers and McFamily Properties, to sort out who will be responsible for payment of that fee. We simply require that the fees has to be paid to the city prior to us affixing the signatures to the plats for the recording purposes with the county. Staff is supportive of the preliminary and final plats as submitted. We did receive one comment by email during the public comment period. This came in yesterday. It was submitted by Trevor Zwack, Z-W-A-C-K, who noted that he's the owner of the property 2 parcels to the south of the subject property. He is voicing his support for both parties to expand their parcel to accommodate their building needs, particularly for the McFamily Properties, it seems. So kind of infer that there may be some potential expansion or development there, perhaps being planned. That would be the only comment I received for the record. With no further comments received, I would again note my recommendation for approval of the preliminary plat with 2 conditions, both somewhat standard. Number 1, development upon the property may be subject to a development agreement with the city if deemed necessary. And number 2, the property is subject to requirement for payment in lieu of parkland dedication as recommended by Park Board and established by City Council. Any required parkland dedication fees must be paid prior to affixing of city signatures on the final plat. Those being my 2 recommendations, I would recommend that if those are satisfied, that the final plat receive a recommendation for approval as well. That will conclude my report, and we can open it up for questions.
Members have any questions?
Yeah, this is Sean. I just have a procedural question on this. If deemed necessary in recommendation number 1, who makes that decision?
If, for development agreement, we usually leave that up to the city engineer, whether a development agreement will be required, but it is somewhat of a collective process when we review review projects at our department head level. If it's a minor enough project, we may forego a development agreement, but more major items are more likely to trigger it. It really depends on the specific proposal that we'd be seeing.
Just curious.
Sure.
Hey, did we close the public?
No, we have not closed the public hearing yet. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I need a name.
Mark?
Mark? Do I have a second? I got a motion from Mark to close the public hearing. I need a second.
This is Sean. I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed with all present. Public hearing closed at 6. I got 6:39. What do you got, John?
Just turned 6:40 at our clock here.
Okay. Okay.
So are we doing this? Are we doing the preliminary and the final together, or in a separate vote?
They got them both together in the suggestion motions.
Yep, they're both handled together.
Alrighty. I'm going to make a motion that we recommend approval of this preliminary and final plat review.
This is Jeff, and I would second that. Do you want conditions as mentioned? Yes, with conditions.
Two conditions.
The second to approve the final and preliminary, plat with two conditions. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed with all present. We got any new business, John, or?
I don't have any formal new business. I will make a note for you planning commissioners that as of right now, we anticipate that this will be our last conference call meeting that we'll need to have. The city council will be meeting by a Zoom meeting on Monday, and in that meeting, they're anticipated to basically authorize meeting in person from there on out of all city boards, commissions, and the city council. So as long as conditions permit and stuff keeps getting better, we will be meeting in person again. And I do expect at least one application for July.
All right.
Well, have a good night. Stay out of the storm.
Yeah, thank you all for your patience and flexibility in working through these items on conference call. I know it's been weird, but looking forward to meeting with you all again in person and getting back to normal.
Yep.
Whatever that looks
We have
like.
to make a motion to adjourn.
We do.
Yep. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
This is Sean, I'll make that motion.
Can I have a
Mark,
second?
second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a good night.